How do you stay true to yourself when your boss is toxic? How do you stay true to yourself at a toxic workplace? This question came up in one of my recent live Q&A sessions, and I want to dedicate this entire video to answering this question. So let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. Come for the career advice and stay for the personal development. Let's dive right in. When we say toxic workplace, what do we mean exactly? We're talking about an environment where you have things like gossip, backstabbing, bullying, favoritism, micromanagement, people taking credit for your work, no accountability, unrealistic expectations, just to name a few. And you know these environments exist because if you've ever had a job, you've most likely worked in one, or maybe you're currently working in one. Now, how does that affect us and our sense of self? Our sense of self is defined by our actions. It's defined by our values and principles, our beliefs. It's defined by our passions and interests. It's defined by the things that are important to us. It's defined by what we stand for. And when we go to a toxic workplace, those things get challenged. So for example, if you're someone who doesn't participate in gossip and you don't play games, you don't engage in office politics, you just want to put your head down and work. In a toxic environment, you will be seen as being not a team player. You will be seen as not being collaborative. People will try to force you to participate in things that you don't want to participate in. And if you refuse to do so, you will be ostracized. You will be left out of decision-making processes. Your opinion will not be valued. People will try to make you feel bad about not participating. And so over time, you start questioning yourself. Are you really not being a colleague? Are you really not being a good employee if you're not participating in gossip? The answer is no. But when you hear it often enough from enough people, you start believing that you're not a team player, you're not a collaborator, and then you start to behave in ways that are inconsistent with your true self in order to please others, in order to fit in. The same thing happens when you refuse to participate in bullying. If you're someone who believes that bullying is wrong, that it's unacceptable, and yet you work in a place where people bully each other, you will be challenged. People will ask you, why aren't you participating? Why aren't you joining in? And when they pressure you enough, you start questioning yourself. Am I doing something wrong by not participating in bullying? Am I doing something wrong by not standing up for the bully? That is how you start losing yourself. I see this happen all the time with people. They work in very toxic places and they start acting and behaving in ways that are completely inconsistent with their values and principles just to survive, just to fit in, just to be accepted. So here are 5 ways to stay true to yourself when you work in a toxic workplace. No. 1. Have a strong sense of self. You need to know who you are. You need to know what you stand for, what your values and principles are. You need to know what you believe in. You need to know what you're passionate about. When you have clarity on these things, it's easier to stay true to yourself. Because when the going gets tough, when you're faced with the challenges, when you're faced with the pressure to compromise your values and principles, you can stay firm because you know who you are and you know what you believe in. This leads me to know to set boundaries. When you know who you are, it's easier to set boundaries. It's easier to say, this is who I am. This is what I believe in. These are my values and principles, and I will not compromise them. So, for example, if you don't want to participate in gossip, it's okay to say, I don't want to gossip about John. I think it's wrong. If you don't want to participate in bullying, it's okay to say, I will not tolerate bullying. I will not participate in bullying. I will stand up against bullying. When you say those things out loud, you might feel uncomfortable, especially if you're in a very toxic environment where those things are the norm. But when you stick to your guns, when you stay true to yourself, people will respect you for that. No. 3. Surround yourself with positive people. Now, I know it's easier said than done, but as much as possible, try to surround yourself with positive people. There is a saying that you become the average of the 5 people you spend most time with, and I really believe that. And it works both ways. So if you have 5 toxic friends, you will become the 6th. But if you have 5 positive friends, you will also become the 6th. That's why it's important to surround yourself with positive people. Now, in a toxic environment, you might not have many positive people to surround yourself with. So as much as possible, find the ones that are like you. Find the ones that don't participate in gossip, that don't engage in bullying, that don't play office politics, that are hardworking, that are ethical, that are honest, and surround yourself with them. If you can't find any, create your own squad. Create your own group of friends outside of work. Have lunch with them. Spend time with them. Talk to them. Don't talk to anyone at work. And I know it sounds extreme, but it's better than letting toxicity seep into your pores and into your soul. No. 4, take care of yourself. When you work in a toxic environment, it can be very draining. It can be very stressful. It can be very emotionally taxing. That's why it's important to take care of yourself. Do things that make you happy. Do things that you enjoy. Do things that you love. Take breaks when you need to take them. Disconnect from work when you're not at work. Spend time with loved ones. Spend time with family and friends. Eat well, exercise, get enough sleep. Take care of yourself so that you have the strength and the energy to stay true to yourself. Because when you're burnt out, when you're exhausted, when you're stressed out, it's much harder to stay true to yourself. That's why it's important to take care of yourself. And know, 5, know when to walk away. Sometimes staying true to yourself means knowing when to walk away. Sometimes you have to choose yourself. You have to choose your mental health, your emotional health, your integrity, your ethics, your morals, your values, your principles. Sometimes you have to walk away from a toxic workplace because it's not worth it. To stay in a toxic workplace, thinking that you can fix it, that you can change it, that you can make a difference, is like watering a dead plant. You're just wasting your time, your energy, your resources. Sometimes you just have to walk away from a toxic workplace and find a new one. And I know it's not easy. Finding a new job is not easy. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes energy. But sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes it's worth it to walk away from a toxic workplace and find a new one where you can be your true self, where you can thrive, where you can be appreciated, where you can be respected. I hope this helps. Thank you for watching. Please share this video with anyone who needs to hear this. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.